to help local officials whose communities are being overwhelmed by hordes of illegal immigrants who are being dropped off by the Biden administration. Texas is providing charter buses to send these illegal immigrants who have been dropped off by the Biden administration to Washington, D.C.
The Texas governor said, we're going to start sending these migrants to Washington, D.C. So they chartered buses. If they want to go to Washington, D.C., they could. And guess what? First bus arrived this morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Capitol Hill. And those migrants got out. They got some paperwork, and they were released. The Capitol right in the background. People mocked Abbott, said, oh, no, this is not going to happen. This is just some political move. And guess what? It's happening.
They estimate that in this fiscal year, that 2 million people will have entered the country illegally with the Biden administration's assistance, if you will. I'm from the Atlanta area. That's like the entire city of Atlanta, that many people being admitted illegally into the country this year.
When you just open the border and let the flood begin, the amount of crime, and we're talking about to these humans, these are human beings that are being trafficked, sold, sex trafficked, minors, drugs, gangs, crime. It's not mean to actually try and protect these migrants from those harms as well.
1 in 4 victims of trafficking are children. And when it comes to sex trafficking, 99% of those who are sex trafficked are women and underage girls. And in America, 20 to 30,000 children a year, according to experts that follow this, 20 to 30,000 children a year are introduced into the sex trade in the United States of America. Being brought across the border is an undeniable moral issue.
By the way, a lot of single males, they always talk about that issue with asylum and the migrants. It's not all, but you see a lot of single males getting off of that bus in Washington, D.C., and a little taste of what it's like to be on the border for our nation's capital.
The traffickers, they don't go through ports of entry. They use the overwhelmed Border Patrol at those ports of entry to go in other places where the Border Patrol doesn't have enough personnel and manpower to actually patrol those areas. They come across. The sex traffickers, for the most part, are those who are what we call the getaways.
They claim it's our job, not Governor Abbott's. He's causing trouble now. They didn't say, by the way, he can't do what he's doing, because they did it in a unique way by making it voluntary. Right. And they're doing these checks after people have already crossed the border. So the federal job is done to make sure they don't have the illegal drugs on them, or a bunch of kids in a car with a couple of grown men, getting to the sex trafficking issue we're talking about. But yet still, Jen Psaki admits it's their responsibility, but they try to blame everything on someone else.
It's not hyperbole to say that the federal government, because of the Biden administration, is doing nothing to really secure the border. They canceled the wall. They're canceling Title 42. They are processing people in, giving them notices to appear that we know the vast majority, some 3/4 of them, never come back for an immigration court hearing. They're allowing them to go into the country. They're not only allowing it, they are chartering aircraft and bringing them to various countries in America. There was a plane that landed this week on the suburbs of New York City with 100 immigrants on it. They are assisting these people in breaking federal law.
Then you've got Jen Psaki. This is what she says. Governor Abbott's unnecessary and redundant, because they're also doing this. Inspections of trucks transitioning ports of entry between Texas and Mexico are causing significant disruptions to the food and automobile supply chains, delaying manufacturing, impacting jobs, raising prices for American families in Texas and across the country, except for the fact that he's trying to protect American families in Texas and across the country. Now the switch from the administration, instead of saying, this is politics, is blaming Texas. Yes, it's Texas's fault for inflation. I thought it was Putin's fault yesterday. Now it's Texas's fault for inflation, because they want to make sure they check the trucks because of all of the illegal activity that goes on in the back of these big trucks. Trafficking of humans, sex trafficking of minors and adults, all illegal. And the drugs, the fentanyl, made by the Chinese Communist Party, sent to Mexico to send out into our country to kill Americans. And they claim it's their responsibility, yet they won't go and look